I think one thing that I wanted to add, which I think we haven't talked about as much, is kind of the second order and third order benefits as well of redevelopment. One of the things that often goes perhaps under the table a little bit is kind of the impact on government revenue when
Hmm.
parcels get
Oh, right,
redeveloped. And so we had done
right.
kind of analysis of a number of projects recently in Rosendale Square and really analyzing what happened before versus now, just as one example, 20 Taft Hill Terrace back in
Right.
2017. It was assessed at about $1 million in taxable value. That brought about 11,000 annually for public use. After the redevelopment, it's now assessed at $10 million, bringing in 10x in public revenue at about $113,000 a year. And that those resources can now be channeled into a number of really great programs, including some that the city run for supporting small and local businesses as they think about setting things up, perhaps subsidizing rent
Okay.
or
Right.
supporting advertising needs. And so one of the things that I think is really critical as you kind of think about redevelopment in an area is how might, say, those increased public revenues allow the public sector to support small businesses, subsidize affordable housing, and perhaps even make generational investments such as an extension of the Orange Line
Mm,
to
mm.
Rosendale Square and beyond. And you really need those financial resources to make something transformative like that happen.
Yeah.
And keeping, say, for example, a surface parking lot just doesn't generate the types of financing that you need to make something like that happen.
Burhan, you have your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Yes, a very quick point, but this is like so poignant actually in Cambridge. I just wanted to chime in, which is, I think that the tax levy limit has been a hot topic of conversation, really all across the state, and always is. In Cambridge, I think ours is roughly like, 30/70, where it's like, 30% of our, maybe 40% of our taxes are paid by residential and the rest by commercial. Um, and that's required by the state, right? Like that ratio is like the maximum ratio, so you can't shift more onto commercial. And really, residents do see tax increases year on year. But what's important to understand is that like let's say you have like $1 billion budget, that 30%, that 300 million, is split among all the residences, all residential, right? So if you have, um, uh, 300,000 people, it'd be about $1,000 a person. But if you had 600,000 people, you would still, by having that same ratio, you could have it be, $500 a person. And as you have more people, some of your services scale, so it might be a little bit higher than that 500. But the point being actually that the ratios that are required under our tax law actually make it such that by having new residents, you can actually split the residential tax rate, total amount of revenue you have to raise from residential among more people, and so everyone pays less taxes. On top of the fact that new growth in general is excluded from, um, the annual limit increases, and so there's like, I think especially in Cambridge, as we've seen the financial situation get tougher, and we went from a place where people, we had very moderate property taxes, but now we're getting concerned about having to raise them over time. Like this has been a key tool in our tool belt to try to keep property taxes low.